attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Measuring University Economic Impact with PROSERIS. This webinar is being presented by Celso Lopez and Shreya Gurov from REMI. I'm Brian Reel, and I'm thrilled to be the host of this presentation. At REMI, our mission is to inform public policy. We provide software that allows government decision makers to test the economic effects of their policies before they're implemented. We work in the fields of economic development, tax, transportation, energy and environment, equity, and much more. If you have any questions about REMI specifically, I encourage you to reach out to us at info@remi.com, and we would gladly connect you with a proper member of our team. I also want to encourage you, if you have any questions throughout this presentation, to ask a question in the question box, and time permitting, we will moderate these questions to the presenters. And if for some reason we're not able to get to yours, we will for sure reach out to you personally through email. And then another cool feature of GoToWebinar that I hope you all take advantage of, because there will be graphs and charts and things like that, is that you're actually able to zoom in to these and scroll around and get a closer look at things. I hope you find this useful. And that's enough for me for now. Take it away, Shreya.
Thank you, Brian. So we're looking at a university impact study. And when I say university, I think the top three things that we think about is students, university professors, and education. But my question is education the only thing that universities are limited to? I think their role goes wider than just providing education. I think they drive the regional economy, they generate those jobs, they create the revenue, not just in spending, but also in terms of state taxes. And I'm replicating a study done by Tennessee Tech using our model and put those using PROSERIS. I'm doing this university impact study. And the purpose of the study is to show a university beyond just being an institutional education provider, but also a key economic driver in a region, stimulating jobs, regional growth, population, productivity, and just talent. Next slide, please. So this analysis is pretty simple. I'm just using two inputs, employment and sales. Sales is essentially student spending or construction spending, etc. And employment looks at university employed, which includes university professors, staff, so it's educational and administrative. And graduate obtaining jobs. So the student graduates that go around in the state, different states, and get employment in different industries and sectors. So that accounts for the students after graduation getting employment. On the sales part, it's mostly spending. Student expenditure is student spending in housing, retail trade, by going to local restaurants or cafes, even on-campus spending at cafes on campus, or vending machines, for instance. Sporting events could be any basketball game or hockey game hosting. So all the food and beverage industries, or all the spending done by students or student families during these sporting events could be included in sporting events. Auxiliary revenue includes campus bookstores for books or even merch, food services like on-campus cafes or restaurants, housing, vending machines. Construction spending could be a new dorm on campus, or a new college structure or building, could be classrooms, could be changing classroom structure, technology. So all of that spending comes under construction spending. And with that, I'll pass it to Celso to introduce our newest REMI PROSERIS.
Yeah, thank you, Shreya, and thank you, Brian, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. So yeah, I'm here to talk about PROSERIS, and PROSERIS is REMI's newest model. And so essentially what we're doing here with PROSERIS, with this new model, is we're kind of combining all of REMI's strengths into a more accessible package to be able to support more of our communities around the country. So essentially we're taking, REMI's strong underlying foundation and modeling engine and putting it into this new interface with, very clear insights and intuitive controls. And we're doing all of this at a lower cost. And the lower cost is is kind of a driving force behind this product, because we want it to be accessible to our, economic developers and smaller communities that may not necessarily have either the budget or the need for kind of the full-blown REMI models that, we've developed in the past. So we want something that's more streamlined and more essentially designed more specifically for economic development purposes. And we want our economic developers to have access to these tools. The next slide, please. So PROSERIS is really going to be leveraging REMI's input-output modeling. And, all our models are designed using a mix of different methodologies, including input-output, CGE, central general equilibrium modeling, and other, economic feedback effects. But what we really want to hone in on for PROSERIS is the strength of input-output modeling. And input-output modeling, if you're not familiar, essentially captures the multiplier effects of the economy. So we have our, our direct investment. In this case, the direct investment into the university is going to be the inputs. So our employment and our sales data. And I think Shreya did a good job kind of going over what those were for this specific simulation. And then from that direct investment, we're going to measure the intermediate spending. So that's business to business spending, kind of those, those purchases and whatnot that happen between businesses to drive the economy. And then the induced spending, which is the household spending effect. So essentially, when you create more jobs in an area, you're raising wages, those people have incomes and they now have more money to spend within the economy. So we're capturing that effect. And then we have, of course, our indirect effects, which is a combination of that induced and intermediate effect. And so we have a couple different use cases that we've really concentrated on for PROSERIS. For the university footprint, I won't get too deep into that, because I think we'd rather show you in this presentation rather than just talk about it. But economic development and tourism are two of the other really big focuses for us. We really want to be able to show how different investments into our communities impact those communities beyond just just the direct investment. We want to show how the jobs create more spending, more consumers, and how all those feedback effects within the economy, how that drives growth, how communities really benefit from these economic development projects, from tourism. I mean, when you have tourism, of course, the tourism sectors, your hotels, your food and drinking places, they benefit, but so does everything else in your economy, because now you're employing people, for those services, and those people are now going out and spending more money in the economy. And so we capture all of that with PROSERIS. Another big focus for us is the integration of REMI AI into PROSERIS. So we've been working on AI for almost 2 years now, and REMI AI is now becoming a core part of REMI's models, and PROSERIS is no different. So it's kind of the next evolution for us. So we've built this AI system that's built off REMI model documentation. So what that means is it's not pulling data from the internet or from external sources. It's using the logic and the equations from the REMI model itself to build these reports. So it's kind of an integrated system within the model. And these AI reports are going to allow the creation of pretty high quality deliverables based off the REMI model outputs. So we're going to have a one-pager that'll be available. We'll have a PowerPoint generator, which will have, more concise information with nice graphics and visuals that are generated from the data of the output. And then we're going to have entire reports that you can generate. So those will be like consulting style reports with an abstract and, different components throughout it, a conclusion, and that'll be generated on demand. And then, of course, we have an economic assistant integrated into it. So it'll use what it knows from the REMI model documentation, the data we've given it, to assist the process of running these simulations. And so this is an early look of the PROSERIS interface. I just want to mention that it's still under development. We plan to launch it very soon, but there may be some further changes down the line, and it's not complete feature complete yet. So there will be some more features that aren't shown here. But this is just a sneak peek, so you know kind of what we did under the hood. And this is the region selection page. And you can go to the next slide, Brian. And so here, we'll have obviously like all REMI models, we have the ability to select different regions. In this case, we're selecting the state of Tennessee, but we have the ability to break out different regions. So we can do counties, we can do MSAs, and that'll be specified by whoever is running the simulation. And you can look at the impacts of various regions, not just one. So you can look at shock one region, but then look at the overall impact. Pretty much whatever you need to do to see what the effects are and what your community is, you can do that within PROSERIS. And so this is the input selection process. Traditionally, we've had a huge list of inputs and a very academic interface. What we have here with PROSERIS is a very user-friendly interface that'll guide you throughout the whole process for your simulation. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier with the accessibility of the model. We want this to be accessible to everyone, not just economists. We want our economic developers, professors, students, anyone to be able to run these simulations and see the effects in their communities. And so I believe this is the last slide we have here for the interface, but essentially it's kind of a continuation there of the input selection process. So it's asking, when the operations will start, when the results will be through, will the project compete locally, and then it's asking for the specific figures within the given year range. So in this case, what's on the screen there is that employment input selection. So kind of what Shreya showed you earlier, this is how we actually did it behind the hood. This is how we actually ran that simulation. And so with that, now I'll hand it over back to Shreya, where she'll actually show you, the results of what we did with PROSERIS and what that actually looks like on the output side.
Thank you, Celso. So looking at the results section, like Celso mentioned, this is really accessible, easy, but I also want to say it really helps to communicate your results. With the AI integration, all these charts, graphs are generated by REMI AI. So it really bridges the gap between analyzing and communicating what you analyzed. So kind of telling the story of the numbers, what it means in terms of demand, what it means in terms of consumption, investment, what it means for population or community in general for that region. So we're looking at a university in a specific region increases consumption, spending, investment, just trade and demand for a lot of industries. We can look at all the industries ahead. Next slide, please. So looking at employment in key industries, so the chart has the top 5 industries which generates employment from a university, professional administrative services that could be from university employed, and also the graduate students that go ahead in other regions, in other sectors and get employed. But looking at construction, retail, trade, that tells us that, okay, that's not just education services or not just administration that's gaining employment, but what are the effects on other industries? For instance, demand for student housing in the region could create construction jobs by stimulating construction investment or housing investment in the region. Retail trade could come from new cafes or new restaurants opening in the university area because students are going out, staff is going out, so it generates that retail trade in that region. Educational services could also be the graduate students going out in other regions and getting employment in different sectors, different fields. So we can see that a university not just affects educational industry, but it affects or it causes ripple effects in other industries by stimulating that growth in other significant industries. Looking at population, so when this region is growing, its industries are growing, there's construction boom, there's retail trade boom, you can see that population wants to come into this region. So there's a positive economic migration in the first year coming into the region. That becomes a part of the population force, and then it settles in, and so we can see that it steadily becomes a part of the population. So as a university is placed in a specific region, it creates that regional growth, that regional stimulus that attracts people to come into this region. And those people that come into a region become a part of the population itself, and then they kind of settle down over the years. Next slide, please. Housing investment. So looking at housing investment, we can see how a university can affect a completely different industry or a completely different market, a housing market that could be from rentals, that could be for rentals, ownerships, the demand coming from students itself, probably university staff, professors. So the more the demand, the more is a stimulus for investment in housing, and that increases the supply as well. So now we can see that, okay, it's building a community in terms of housing. Now these people who live in these regions will also go and spend in these regions. So we'll also indirectly boom retail trade or other connecting industries. And then to conclude, we look at how a university increases employment in not just the specific industries, but also in surrounding industries, with an employment multiplier being 2.04. Then the impact of a university is directly giving jobs to university professors or students, but indirectly creating jobs in construction, retail trade, professional services, educational services, and also creating that regional growth in local community growth and all the other sectors as well. So we can see how interconnected these things are, how interconnected a university is to its community, to its region, and to the industries surrounding that economic stimulus. But that's all for the university impact analysis, and we're happy to take in questions from everyone.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you so much to Shreya and Celsa for the excellent presentation. I want to point everybody to these emails. If maybe after this presentation concludes, you have some questions for our team, definitely feel free to. There's also a general info@remi.com address, and I'll make sure that we get you in touch with the right person. So the first question we received is this an online program? They're referring to PROSERIS.
Yeah, I can answer that. Yes, so PROSERIS will be completely browser-based. And of course, the advantage of that is that there's no, install process, and it can be accessed from any location. You just need a login. But that was a big focus of ours, was to kind of put this platform kind of in a browser. So yes.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Celso. That is the only question we've received so far. So I'm going to slowly begin to do a conclusion, but typically as I start to do these conclusions, a question comes in. So feel free to ask away if you have one. But I just want to thank again everybody for joining us today. We will have future webinars planned where we're going to go over more of PROSERIS' features, as Celso mentioned, relating to economic development, tourism, and much more. We're all very excited about this here, and we think that it can help a lot of organizations of all different shapes and sizes. And I also want to thank Celso and Shreya for the excellent presentation. And with that, we are going to conclude. So hope you have a great rest of your day and a great week, and hope you'll consider attending more of our presentations. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.